Is there objective truth in business? Is there objective truth in investing like there is in science? Or is everything just subjective, cultural, luck, randomness? Can we find a truthfully objective investment which follows a certain paradigm or certain theorem, even maybe even like mathematics? Or is it all just like fashion, or maybe even fashion itself is very objective? So the question here is fundamental, discussed in the beginning of Infinity, also discussed in the Innovator's Dilemma chapter 9. So we want to continue with our discussion of chapter 9 and want to introduce thoughts from the beginning of Infinity. This is the Not Even Wrong podcast. It's December 8, 2020. This is Krim Delco. For the day, the fund is up 9.5%. The market's up 28 basis points. For the year, we are up 373.8%. The market's up 14%. We're outperforming by roughly 360%. So let me start with chapter 9. Chapter 9 talks about the product that is either overperforming or commoditized or not. That's the question. So products, disruptive products, start with offering customers certain parameters, certain matrices that are desirable. They are shortcoming in other matrices, and then slowly they grow and become dominant in a bunch of performance matrices. And this is how products gain market share. Businesses do the same thing. At scale, businesses are nothing but an agglomeration of the products. Commoditized products are products where the performance matrix that a customer wants is being met by more than one company or more than one product. And then again, you can agglomerate that to the company. And therefore, a commoditized company is a company that has a set of products and services where the performance matrix can be met by more than one product and therefore more than one company. So now the question is there an objective product, a product that is truthfully, objectively better than another one? And also, is there such a thing as an objective investment? I'm borrowing here from chapter 9 in The Innovator's Dilemma, and also from the beginning of Infinity. The beginning of Infinity has this beautiful, interesting chapter about the question of why are flowers beautiful? Is beauty an objective thing or a subjective thing? And I think I want to connect that with the discussion of an objective investment or an objective product. The question, the fundamental question is, are there things in life that have objective truth, such as science, particularly, we believe has, and then are there other things which aren't? Or is pretty much anything a question of conjecture, of Popperian try and error, iteration, betterment, finding better solutions, and therefore everything has an objective truth to it? Beauty, investing, business, science, are they all the same or are they different? This is the question I want to try to answer. My answer is yes. There is an objective investment, and the reason there is an objective investment is because, similarly, like in the beginning of Infinity, Deutsch talks about the elegance and beauty of things, and the elegance and beauty of mathematics, for example, which makes us believe that it's also true because it's elegant and beautiful. Also, Richard Feynman has spoken about this. The more you understand about processes, the more beauty you can see within the processes. For example, you can see a flower is very beautiful. You can also see the way flowers are pollinating with insects, and the relationships and the communication between flowers and insects is beautiful. You can go on the molecular level and see how beautiful the molecular interactions are, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying here is the possibility that the deeper and more granular you go into an object, the more objective truth you can actually discover. Now let's apply this to investing. I think investing as a whole, from a perspective of a layman, looks like a random gambling Wall Street casino kind of thing. And it's been portrayed on Wall Street. It's been portrayed in Hollywood, Wall Street has been portrayed as this power game, this random power grab, money game kind of thing. We have also the rise of social media and finance, companies like Robinhood, where gaming is being turned into investing and people just play around with money and communicate and all that. These are all fine. But of course, there is no objective truth in terms of investing here. The objective truth in terms of investing, in my opinion, has to do with finding relationships, principles. I don't want to call it laws of physics or something like that, or the laws of nature of investing, but something along those lines. Finding those principles and then applying them to the world in an interactive, experimental way, and then finding experiments where those principles work and then developing theories based on that. This is the way we see objective investing, and therefore we also, of course, like I discussed many times before at Orange Capital Partners, we do have a principle stack that is a sort of the set of axioms that we use to invest in the markets, and then we are very thorough about why we choose certain investments. We then test them against reality. In our world, that is pretty easy because reality is simply performance. And then we either make mistakes, we get out, or we invest, we increase investments, etc. Here's a few examples. For example, the main fundamental principle of our investment strategy is to invest in disruptive innovation. The purpose of Orange Capital Partners is to generate wealth by investing in disruptive innovation with large impact. Let's take an example, Pacific Bioscience. It's a company we invested in about 8 months ago. We bought the stock at roughly 4. We sold the stock roughly at 4, so we didn't make any money. The stock is now 21, and we are contemplating of increasing that position. The reason is because it fits into our principal stack of disruptive innovation. Pacific Bioscience is in the business of genomic sequencing, and they have developed a method called long reads. So as opposed to the short reads, which is proliferated by companies like Illumina, Pacific Bioscience does long reads. So they read larger sections of the genome. So far, this has been a more expensive and less accurate method than what Illumina was doing, and therefore the company was, let's say, suffering. The applications for long reads so far in the existing markets are very limited because of the high cost and low accuracy. However, we believe that now with the increase of accuracy and the lowering of the cost, the application space is growing exponentially, and this is a typical example of a disruptive innovation where the long reads of Pacific Bio will crowd out the short read market for Illumina and therefore start competing with Illumina. I think this is one of the main reasons why Illumina wanted to buy PacBio and the deal didn't go through. Now, this is a very elegant, nice theory. It might work, it might not work. We will apply this, we will actually test it in the market, we will invest. We expect the stock to, if we are right, to have a potential upside of many times, maybe 20 times to 50 times, because this company has the potential to become the dominant player in genomic sequencing, which by itself is a massive pie that will grow in the future because of synthetic biology, CRISPR, gene editing, and the breakthroughs that have been happening this year also with protein folding. So you have this connection between the genome, the genetics, the RNA, the protein, the folding process, and the function. So there is a whole stack now of analytical tools available that can be used, and Moore's law is kicking in here. And this is an enormous advance in biological sciences that we believe Pacific Bioscience will be a leader going forward. So this is one example of why we believe there is an objective way to invest. This is not a fad. This is not something that is cultural. Let's say, oh well, it's the Chinese like this, but the Europeans are not so happy about this, or something like that. There are investments like that. There sometimes are these trends, and I would say right now social is biting back and things like that. We are hearing in Silicon Valley. So there are companies like Airbnb, etc., that are Uber, that are kind of having a comeback. This is more like fashion. They were in fashion, they were out of fashion, they're in fashion. The problem with these companies, fundamentally, they don't have a business. They might get one. They are, in our view, stocks in search for a business model, and the longer the capital markets keep them alive, the higher the chance that they actually find a business model. But in my view, that's not objective investing. It's not beautiful, it's not elegant, it's dirty, it's messy, it's also crowding out other players. by sheer size and power, those are not beautiful investments. Beautiful investments, objectively nice, beautiful, functioning investments, in our view, are investments that fit into a principal stack. It happens to be the one we use is the disruptive innovation principal stack. There are other principal stacks also. For example, value investing is one, but we believe disruptive innovation has a lot more potential for returns. That's why we're sticking with that. Again, our mission is to generate wealth by investing in disruptive innovation with large impact. So we need the generation of wealth, the disruptive innovation, and the large impact. They have to stick together. To come back to our largest position, Tesla, here again, I think the elegance, the beauty of the principal stack applying to the investment is part of the reason why we're so confident in Tesla. For example, recently there has been an IPO of QuantumScape, which is a solid-state battery company, and you have to ask the question, how is this a threat to Tesla? Tesla is investing billions of dollars into battery technology, battery architecture, and therefore a new entrant, a disruptive entrant, self-proclaimed disruptive entrant such as QuantumScape could be a threat. Now, we analyzed the IPO and we found out that, first of all, the IPO was done through a reverse merger with a SPAC, which again is very, very suspicious. The company itself seems legitimate. However, we believe that QuantumScape is one of those high-tech companies that is throwing a lot of jargon at investors to distract from the fact that the actual targets, the actual end goals, the actual endpoints that they're trying to achieve with their technology could be already behind Tesla or will be behind Tesla in a couple of years. This is what investors are not understanding right now. The company is being bid up, the stock is going up, and some might say, well, who cares? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It will survive just by sheer size. I don't want to discuss it. It's possible. I mean, again, I said Uber is one of those companies. They should have been bankrupt several times in the last couple of years. They haven't. They're actually now back to almost IPO levels in terms of the stock. So there is a potential for large liquidity, large sort of keep companies alive type of periods. But nevertheless, we believe that this is a beautiful way to think about investing, and therefore, again, this objectivity of investing. So Tesla has set targets, roughly 50% increase in range. QuantumScape has a target of a roughly 50% increase in watt hour per kilogram. And this is an interesting distinction. While Tesla is talking about range, QuantumScape is talking about watt hour per kilogram. The difference here is that QuantumScape is stuck on certain technology metrics because it's a technology company, to be fair, and it's an academic spin-off. So they're very focused on metrics which are measurable and which can be, let's say, published in a paper. Tesla doesn't care about these things. Tesla cares about range. Range is the fundamental endpoint here. Who cares about watt hour per kilogram if you don't, I mean, in the end, that has to be translated into range. So Tesla is working with range. The other reason why Tesla is working with range and not just watt hour per kilogram is because Tesla has an integrated product where it's the battery management software, the drivetrain efficiency, and the battery itself, which are delivering that kind of range. So again, Tesla is solving a problem not by a battery breakthrough, but by combining and integrating an innovation stack around several aspects of the innovation stack. Again, battery management system, and the drivetrain, versus QuantumScape is a pure battery tech company. So of course, they're only focused on the battery. Another point is that QuantumScape is talking about a higher life cycle of the battery. Again, here there are technical metrics that they're going after. Tesla has put out the goal to have a 1,000,000-mile battery for the robotaxis. Again, it doesn't matter what kind of specific technology metrics they achieve. In the end, what matters is simply 1,000,000-mile battery. So to summarize, we believe Tesla is a much more driven company in terms of delivering value to customers and using the innovation stack to achieve that. While QuantumScape is a company which was born in academia, which has academic goals that could be interesting or not, which has to, first of all, be proven in the marketplace by any measure. Even the batteries themselves are not proven. They are not being used by customers, but more importantly, we have no idea about volume manufacturing. about the cost of the manufacturing, about the downside of side effects and possible other problems that could come up. I don't want to dismiss them, but I believe that this is a little bit of a hype and a little bit of a bubble created by the management and the investors of QuantumScape, because after the Tesla battery, this is my conjecture now, they have realized that they are falling behind Tesla, so they need to invest a lot more capital and accelerate their roadmap in order to catch up with Tesla and potentially surpass Tesla. This is my conjecture. But again, in the context of objective, beautiful, elegant investments, Tesla fits the elegance and the beauty of the relationship between the principal stack that we use and the actual reality. And this beauty in itself gives us a lot of confidence that Tesla is a good investment. And at the same time, QuantumScape doesn't fit that reality. Again, using the principal stack, we can see that there are some missing points and that potentially, therefore, this is not a good investment. Lastly, I want to also discuss the threat of Chinese disruption to Tesla. Again, this is a beautiful example of the elegance of our principal stack, which is we are questioning ourselves, can Tesla be disrupted by cheaper Chinese cars? The answer is no, because Tesla is lowering the cost structure. The $25,000 car is actually the end goal of the Battery Day roadmap. And again, this is something that is not clear with QuantumScape. And the reason it's not clear with QuantumScape is because their goal is not necessarily to deliver a cheap car. Their goal is to make most money per battery cell. And the cheap car, which is the end goal for Tesla, is again, the end goal of the innovation stack, of which battery management, and drivetrain are critical parts to achieve the $25,000 car, which happens to be also the answer to the cheap Chinese disruption. So to summarize, there is such a thing as an objective investment, which is not a fad, which is not a cultural thing where millennials like it or something like that. None of that stuff. There is an objective truth, something that 100 years from now, people will read and still consider this is a good investment. This was a good investment at that time. And it's based on objective criteria. Thank you.